right, so we are in a new sketch and in Onshape, or we're getting ready to start one. I am making this video to help you if you are struggling with some of the extrusion tools that we are introducing in class, or if you're absent. So I'm just going to kind of walk through some pretty quickly, and we'll start with Extrude. As just a quick little reminder, I'm going to preview. This is what we were looking at in class, something similar to this. We're making a block with two pegs coming out. It's going to have a curved edge, which we call a fillet, and it's got this beveled edge on the pegs that are there, and those are chamfered. So that's a lot of vocabulary if you are learning. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. If at any time I'm going too fast, you can always stop the video and rewind it and take it to a slower speed, but I will try to walk you through it. So because of it having cylinders with those pegs, we're going to want to do this sketch looking down, like on the top view. It would not work very well from the front or the right. So I'm going to select the top plane. And even though I've selected it, it doesn't automatically put that right up, normal to the screen so that I'm looking at it straight on. So I want to start with that. You could draw either rectangle. It doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to use the center point, but the corner one works just fine. With either rectangle, what I want you to make sure that you do is you find this origin and hover over it so it highlights before you begin drawing. Don't worry too much about size. When you drop it, you're going to immediately see that you have this lit up dimension down here. We already looked at this in class. We said it was about 2 inches. Ooh, that's weird, right? Well, we're going to also change the other one to 2, and it will look a lot less weird. It looks weird because it started out really big because of where I dropped it. I'm going to escape. And you may have this happen. I've seen it happen many times for students. If that happens, just remember that there's nothing that you will do that can't just kind of be moved around later. So if it's just a visual thing, that's no big deal. All right, so we have a 2 inch by 2 inch now square, and that we used doing our rectangle tool. If I turn my constraints on, you will see it's automatically added a bunch of things here that apply, and this is a fully defined sketch. We know it because everything is black. That means that I can't go and grab it and move it around. So generally speaking, you want to have things that are fully defined. Now we're going to add those circles. So I'm going to come up here, and I prefer to use the center point circle most of the time. There are a few times where I might use the 3.1 instead. But I'm going to start here. Not going to stress about it being exactly perfect. Earlier in class, we decided it was about 0.75. So if when you go and you drop the circle, oopsies, I clicked the wrong button. All right, if you click and you drop it, and then you click off of it and you didn't get a chance to dimension that circle, or any other shape for that matter, whether it be the square, the rectangle, any other things, you can come and get your dimension tool, and you can always do that after as well. So come over here, and I'm going to make that 0.75. As a reminder, I'm hitting the escape to get out of that tool, but this diameter symbol and notation is the same as this one. It just depends on where I drop the 0.75 at. Alrighty. So I've gotten out of that tool, and I noticed that my circles are blue. That is because they are not fully defined. So I'm going to fix that by telling it what position these should be at. So I'm choosing my dimension tool. I'm going to select the center point, and I want to make this circle be a 1/2 inch from each side of the square. So center point is selected. Now I will select the side, and I can pull it down wherever it's convenient, and we'll make it 0.5, enter. Do center point, top, 0.5, enter, or return, depending on what computer you're using. And you notice that shape is now fully defined. I could do the same thing with the other one. I can also come up, and if you find your constraints, they're next to your dimension tools. You may see something that has a lot of pull downs like these over here. But if you see your constraints, you can find your horizontal. And these 2 points are center points. We want them to be on the same line, horizontal line as each other, so they stay across from each other. All right, you can see I've added that constraint. It's still blue because if I get out of that tool, escape out of it, one thing you will notice that I can still do, even though I can't go up and down anymore, it can move back and forth. So to fully define this, I have to make it so it can't change position this easily. So I'm going to come up here, find my dimension tool, and just like I did on the other side, I'm going to go from that center point to this outer line, and I'm going to make it 0.5. It is now fully defined. So I will escape out of the dimension tool, and I'm going to green check I'm done with this sketch. Up here in the top, you have your extrude, revolve, sweep, and loft. We're going to go to extrude, and it will automatically open up a new extrusion. That's the default setting, and it says faces and sketch regions to extrude. There are several ways to do this, but I'm going to show you the way, one way to do it, which is we're going to extrude this box part first, and then we're going to add in the pegs. You could also extrude all of it and then go back and add the pegs after. You could have, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I'm going to do it this way. So this right now, it's in millimeters. I just realized that. It's probably why that was got so small earlier. But we are going to, since I'm already doing it in the scale with millimeters, I'm not going to stress it. But we want to make, this is asking us how far out do we want it to extrude. So right now, I made that little shape quite small since I forgot that I started a new document and it started in millimeters. So we've got this shape here and we want to extrude it. Right now it's doing really big things. So one way you can do it is you can drag this down and up. Not able to see much till you get down in there. So you notice that you can use that arrow and make it the height you want. I believe in class we made it something like 1.5. Again, we were using inches. Since it's already in mine in millimeters, I'm going to do it this way. This is just going to be a very tiny little Lego. Okay. Since I'm not 3D printing it, it's just for you guys seeing how to do the features. I'm not going to stress it. I'm going to green check when I get it to the height that I want. And now I am going to notice that this sketch is now hidden. I still need to use those circles, so I'm going to unhide the sketch. You can tell if the sketch is hidden or not because it'll be grayed out, and you do not want to see it grayed out. So we're going to click Extrude. This time we're going to do Add. And I'm going to look at it from the top view. Gosh, again. And I'm going to click inside the circles. If you cannot click in the circles, you need to make sure your sketch is not hidden. Since we did 1.5 before, we're going to do, which by the way, if I rotate this, you will see that we do not want them to be that large. Not 25. We're going to make these maybe 2. Let's see what that looks like. If I don't like the way it looks, then, which I think they're fine. But if I didn't like the way they look, I could also adjust them up and down using that arrow. All right, green check. You may, depending on how you go about doing it, this is automatically merged with part 1, which is great. If it doesn't automatically merge it, or if this deletes, you can also merge with the whole thing since this is just one part. But I'm going to green check. We haven't talked a lot about the other features like merging and stuff yet. All right, so we have a Lego. It doesn't quite look like the one I showed you. That other one had a curved edge in the front, and the tops of these circles were beveled in. They were kind of slanted in. We call that a chamfer. So we're going to start by, we have now extruded. Now we can add features, additional features like a fillet. And we come in here and we're on the edge. We want this to fillet an edge. We have to come over here and select the edge that we want rounded, and we want this one to be a rounded fillet. Now it's going to automatically go to whatever size fillet that you did last, but you will notice there's also a little arrow. If you don't see it, if you're looking straight on and you don't see it, you can turn to the side and you will. But you can adjust it to the size of the fillet that you want. Notice it's measuring the radius of the arc. And when you see what you like, you can click green check. Next door to the fillet is the chamfer up here, and we are going to click that tool. And I'm going to go to the top view, click the top of my view cube, and zoom into my tiny little cube here. All right. And I am going to select which entities do I want to chamfer. So we want these circles to be chamfered. Let me go back over here just a bit. All right, entities to chamfer. We want that guy right there. Why is it saying there's a problem? Oh, I do know why. All right, so hopefully if you're doing it in inches like you're supposed to be, because my little guy here is so tiny, we have an issue with size. So this distance is way too big for that. I'm going to go to down to 0.1, which is the units I was using in class today. So just in inches. So this looked much bigger overall, but same overall shape. So if you're in inches, that is going to be very tiny. In millimeters, it'll look different. That is the difference in the distance with these circles. So how much is it being offset here? We're going from like a bigger circle to a smaller one. That is all you have to do to chamfer. I'm going to hit the green check. And I'm going to give it a little revolve so we can see it. Since we have other things we're going to be covering, and this is an introductory lesson, we're not going to put the holes in the bottom of this Lego. Although if I was going to print it and I wanted it to be for Lego use, then I would definitely go in and add some holes. So we'll look at that another time in another lesson. All right, we are going to come down here and we're going to click a new Part Studio. And this time we're going to use the Revolve feature. And we're going to make a chest pawn. I've got a simple one pulled up here, something similar to this. There's a lot of fancy chest pawns out there with lots of other features. And honestly, it's your chest pawn. If you decide to make it look a little bit different, you go right ahead. But we're going to make something that looks similar to that. So, again, hopefully you know, we're going to start with a sketch. And we're going to select a sketch plane. For this one, we're going to use either the front or the right, because a chest pawn, we can rotate it in any direction, and the front and the right, those side views are always going to look the same because it has rotational symmetry. We would not want to draw it from the top view looking down. It would probably just look basically like a circle. So I'm going to do front, and I'm going to click front on my view cube. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and click the P button on my keyboard. I'm going to get rid of the planes. There's a reason for that. I want you to be able to see all the lines that I'm drawing. Sometimes with the planes, you can't see everything. So P takes that planes on and off. I'm going to start with a line. I'm going to go back to this origin and highlight it. And I'm going to make sure I'm going horizontally as far as we want. And again, I'm in millimeters, so if you're doing this in inches, ignore the units that I'm using and just focus more on the shape and the feature. So I have made sort of a angled little shape here. And I'm actually going to escape out of that tool. And we are going to go to the tangent 3-point arc. There are many ways to make this, but I'm going to use the 3-point arc since that is a tool we have used before in our original sketching. So this is my origin. You can see this wants to pop into place vertically above the origin, and I want it to do that. So for my second endpoint, I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to pull back, and I want to look so the top of it kind of looks flat, so it has kind of a head like a pawn. And I'm going to escape out of that tool. I'm going to drag another line and go from top to bottom. Now, in case you weren't in class, if you do not close off this shape, which is really easy to do if your planes are on, because you can easily miss that, then you will not see it turn gray, and you cannot do any of these. You can't extrude, and you can't do what we're getting ready to do, which is revolve. So if we wanted it to be fully defined, we would need to make sure we're defining perhaps the radius. We may want to define the distance between that point and that line. I'm just going to hit enter. Maybe I did not do that correctly. Let me hit undo. And I need to zoom in better. So I'm going to hit the dimension. I'm going to click the center point of the arc and that line that we're working with. I'm not too worried about what it says. I'm just trying to define it. I'm going to click the neck of my chest pawn and that line and just click that. Now it is almost fully defined. The other thing that we can change, and the reason it's not fully defined, is because this can still move back and forth. So there's a few different, we could either define the lines distance down here, or we can give the angle. So if I click the first line, click the second line, and click this, it's pretty close to 70. I like round numbers, so I'm going to just make it 70, hit enter. All right, I'm going to escape out of that tool, and I'm going to green check. I am going to go to my Revolve tool. We are going to revolve this shape around the axis that is going down the middle of it that it has rotational symmetry with. So I'm going to sketch this region. Once you've clicked that face, come over here and click Revolve Axis. That way it knows we're not clicking other things that we want to revolve, and we're going to click that axis. The default is full, so if you like the way your pawn looks, you are done. All right, pretty cool. If there's something you don't like about it, you probably need to go back in your sketch and make some adjustments. If I wanted that to be a little steeper, or maybe this a little smaller, I could come in here and do that, and my shape will be automatically updated in the Revolve, and I do not have to change anything other than those dimensions. All right, so that is how you do a chess pawn, and I'm going to click it so we can see it from a 3D view. Oop. Let's try it. There we go. Very good. And I'm going to stop this video here.